Man, that frame looks good. I just can't stop staring at it. All right, guys, welcome back. And what we're going to be doing today is putting the front suspension back on. Let's get started. Okay, I am just going to start off by taking this off. I think the upside to all of the grease is none of this is too rusted. It's been lubricated pretty well over the years. Alright, I've never done this before, so be gentle with me, guys, if I start doing stuff wrong. And please let me know in the comments if there's anything I could be doing better. Okay, I just want to take that off and then pound that pin out. Not that I think I need to, but I'll just pop the grease zerks out now. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Now we have to take this cap off. And the best way I could find to do it was said to drill through here to kind of bring that up. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I just beat the screwdriver underneath. I was able to start getting this cap off. Let's see. Done. Now, ideally it should, and rarely does for me, just pop out. Not like that, it'll actually get in there. Let's flip this over. And let's try to get this cap off too, because I've been trying to hammer it out this way and that's not working. So go about doing the same thing. Alright, the caps are off. I had to get in, get my Dremel in to clear away enough material because it was like stuck on top. Now, what are the odds this just pops right out? Let's see. We'll just try to tap it out. See what happens. I do not have high hopes. Yeah, I didn't think so. Not happening. All right, we're gonna get our old friend out and basically use it as a press again. Luckily enough, it barely fits. Just need to make sure I line this up right. It's slightly smaller than the actual shaft or the Kingpin itself. So this should be okay. Just take it slow. Okay, it came out. Man, it had like a rust spot, so finally when it broke, which looks like probably up here, it slid right out. And this should just tap right off. Okay, and you're supposed to note if there are any shims, and there actually isn't, so I'm surprised. Just the bearing itself. And no bearing on that shims either. All right. And it's out. Now the hard part of trying to get those bushings out. But what I'm going to do though is go ahead and take the other spindle out. I'll do that off camera. And then I'll come back and we'll try to get these bushings out of each of the spindles.
Loose on this one.
Now that we have the Kingpins out, let's go ahead and try to get these bushings out. I'm just going to use a socket. Let's see if I can start them a little bit. Maybe we can get it to come out a little easier. Anything? Of course not. How about this one? Oh yeah, that one's gonna come right out. Beautiful. Let's see. How about this one? Well, it's moving. That's a good sign. I have a feeling the top is going to be the same problem. I think this is where it got a lot of the water intrusion. All right, let's try it over here, guys. Let's get a deeper socket. Damn. And you see, to being all rusted in there and dried out, that's why it was stuck. We'll get this all cleaned up, the axle all cleaned up and into paint. And before we end up putting the new Kingpin bushings in. Now, also we'll get the shock absorber brackets and all that stuff in. So these are the shock absorber brackets. You've got the stops. I went ahead and got the rubbers already out of the axle stops. So those are the bump stops pretty much. And what we need to talk about next, and we'll need to get painted too, are these. So I'm going to put a sway bar on the truck. And I was lucky enough to find an original sway bar. So back in 1953, they did offer a sway bar for the trucks. This thing is awesome. It didn't come on the truck stock, but it did come on the Suburbans. So you can find them today if you find one of the Suburbans of the same year, or in the same, I think 47 to 53, maybe even 55 first series. You'd be able to find the sway bar and it'll fit directly to the trucks because it was the same frame from what I understand, or at least the same cross member setup. Now, this goes to the axle, and it's a U-bolt setup, and it goes in here like this. Obviously, I tracked down some bushings and everything. But I don't think I'm actually going to use this setup. Even though it's super cool, I think I want to go with the aftermarket. And reason why is this is a 7/8 sway bar. And I haven't even taken it out of the package yet. The aftermarket one, which, for the record, I had already found this. Or I'd already bought this sway bar before I found this one, but I had to buy this when I got it. Otherwise, I would have just gone with the original, but since I already have it, this is 1 1/8 inches. I mean, there's a huge difference in between these. And I want to get as much steering and stability as I can, as there's a ton of body roll in that truck as it is. So I think I may go with this one. Plus, I like the placement of this sway bar where it connects at the U-bolts straight to the axle instead of bolting onto the axle separately. But I needed to find this anyways because we needed this bracket. Now this kit with the sway bar is for a Chevy. It comes here with all of this stuff. So you got your brackets and everything else in here. Now the kit is for a Chevy. The only thing is Here are the mounting mounting brackets for the sway bar brackets. If I can open this up for you. And basically, these mount up, and then I think they go in here like this. And this bolts to the bottom of the cross member. But on the Chevy cross member, it's a lot more flat all the way across, where on the GMC, it actually has this slant here. So you need these, or you need to fabricate something. And let me show you right now. I'll take you over to the cross member. Now, what I was talking about here, on the cross member, you see how it slants up. On the Chevys, it is straight. So it doesn't have this incline here. So you're able to use this flat bar bracket here, or flat strap bracket. We don't have that advantage here on the GMC. But GMC did offer these original brackets, which has the slant, and it comes in and matches up with all the bolt holes like that. And then evens out. Only downside on this is this hump here, and I'll show you why. Now the problem with the bump is you have the OEM or the original bracket, and it fits in perfectly right into the curves, and it uses the bump to put compression on the bushing so it holds the sway bar in. Obviously, with the new one, we've got this huge gap. Now this bushing doesn't fit in here at all, and you see how it fits on the bracket that it comes with. So we have a couple options. We can cut the bump off, which I'm not doing. There's no way I'm destroying this rear bracket. Or we can try to cast a bushing for this, which is an option, and I did buy some stuff to do that. I'm a little hesitant because I'm not sure how well it'll come out. Or, which is probably the easiest option, is to get some 1/2 inch flat stock and just make spacers, because this bump is 1/2 inch thick. And I think I'm just going to go that route, and it should hold on just fine. And bolt it up. So that's what we're going to have to do. But first, let's go ahead and get this bolt out, which we're going to use the old weld on a nut and take it off. And then we'll get it into paint. I'll go see if I can track down some flat stock and we'll get it made up. But I'm super excited to have this, guys. Okay, guys, moving on with the disassembly process. What we have to do is take the steering arm out of the tie rod end, and it's not like a modern tie rod end where you just have a castle nut and you just take it right off and pop it out. It's not as simple as that. What we have to do is take it out of the tie rod end, the ball out, and then press the ball out from this end. And to do that, you have to take the cotter pin out and then spin this out. It's basically like a giant flathead. Let's see if I can get you a better view. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Well, the cotter pin is rusted in there tight. I tried beating it out. As you guys saw, it is not moving. And the reality of the situation is we're replacing the tie rod end and that ball. We really just need to be able to detach it so we can press this out. So perfect. I really wanted to show you the inside of that, but it's not working out. Now we just have to deal with this side. What do you think the odds that this cotter pin will come out, huh? All right, perfect. No damage to the actual steering arm. And that is out. Well, the GoPro keeps overheating, but no big deal. All I did was pop out the drag link, and now we're ready to go. Now, what to do here? So this actually has a shoulder on it here. Now, the options are you could just cut it all the way down to the shoulder, but to be honest, I really don't want to get a cutoff wheel that close to that. Or you can push it down this way, but this is peened over. So what I'm going to do is grind back the peening a little bit, and then I'm going to drill in here. See, it's already got kind of a dimple. and then we're going to see if we can just go over to the vise and kind of push it out. I don't have a press here. I do have access to one if we really need one, but I think we can get it in, get it out without one. And this good old trusty tool does it again. So I couldn't get out with the vise, but that pushed it right out. Fantastic. Oh man, I love it. So I'll go ahead and get the other ones out and I'll get the other one out and I'll bring you guys back. Okay guys, and there it is. Both of them are out. Looks great. Man, I love this tool. It can do anything. It is like having a mobile press. It is awesome. Even if you have a press in your shop, you still want to have this because you can bring it anywhere you go. This thing has saved me this entire build. And if you guys saw, I was using this drill here. What's cool about this drill is from the 1930s. So this is older than the truck it's working on. I mean, one of these could have been used to work on these trucks prior. I love old tools also, guys. This thing is awesome. I'm so stoked to be able to use it on working on the truck. All right. Now we are finally done with all of the disassembly, and I can tell you I am so glad about that. Man, have I just been like tired of being greasy and dirty, and I'm ready for everything to be in paint and looking just as amazing as this frame, even though it's covered in sawdust right now. You know, once it's clean, you can use it as a workbench. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get all of this in degreaser, and then bring it back over here like I have a lot of this, which is in evapor rust. This stuff is awesome too. We'll get it all cleaned up, and I'll bring you back when we start doing paint. All right, guys, see you then. And no surprise, guys, this thing was just as greasy as the frame. I had to take it out there and pressure wash it too. And now I'm just gonna come in here and try to heat it up and use the torch to get all the water off before it rusts too bad. Time to get it in the rust encapsulator. I already shook this up, and we are just gonna hurry through this. This is the same stuff I used on the frame. If you guys haven't checked that video out, go ahead and go over there and see how well the frame turned out while using this stuff. This stuff is awesome. And I wanna get it in now so we can leave it overnight because it needs at least 4 hours to dry. All right, let's get that axle in paint. there you guys have it. All nice and in paint. Oh man, I think everything came out really good. We have everything set up over here drying. It's got to dry for a day, so we're just letting it hang out. Man, that axle looks nice. Now, while everything's drying, we are gonna go over here and put in the leaf springs. I got them sitting here ready to go. I got everything done. I even have these all painted up, these shackles. And I didn't do that on the back, and they're all rusted now. We'll deal with that later. So I learned my lesson. I went ahead and spray painted these and got them ready to go. Now, with the bushings already in, this should be a quick and easy job. And every time I say that, it's not. So we'll see how it goes. Let me set you up on the tripod and let's throw these in. Okay, to start this out, I have brand new leaf springs. Now, I talked about it before, but the other ones are pretty clapped out. So we're gonna go ahead and use new ones. These are actually just cheap leaf springs from General Spring. I think they were made in Canada from Daytona. So at least they were made in North America. I've had good luck with them, same brand I used on the back, and they seem to be doing really well. But down the line, I plan to have a nice, like, custom leaf springs made from Eaton. That way, you know, you get a little bit of a better ride with them. But we're gonna run with these for probably a while. That whole custom leaf spring's way down the line. You know, those things you just wanna do, but you're never sure if you will. Now, I did have to slightly grind up a little bit on the sides to fit it in here when I did the back. So I'm not gonna be surprised if that's something, yep, well, we're gonna have to do here. Yeah, I figured. Basically, you just get certain casting indifferences. Yeah, it's not really gonna fit. And all we're gonna do is come over here and just hit it with the flapper. All right, that took a lot more grinding than I thought, but it's all good. I'm just gonna hit it with the Extreme Chassis Black, but obviously in the spray can. No big deal. So I just stuck the bolt in, and we will okay, now for this side, we already talked about this. So basically this isn't like the modern bushing where it's just a bushing and you have like rubber ends. This is, it just screws on. And as this moves, it moves back and forth in the thread here. So let's go ahead and pre-grease this a little bit. I know it has grease zerks, but it's always nice to have a little bit of grease on the threads. And we'll just thread this in. Normally I'd put the grease zerks on the outside, but I don't know, when we pulled it off, the grease zerks was on the, on the inside. They're on the outside, so we'll keep it. Why is it? There we go. See, and you try to keep it even on each side, just like that. And you can even it out once you get the shackles and everything on. And now, we need to do the same thing for the leaf spring itself. Now, the leaf springs that I bought already came with a bushing in it, but if you're redoing the, if you're reusing the leaf springs that you have, you can just get the same bushing that we pushed into here, push it out, and then push a new one in. And they do come in the kit that I got, and the kit that I have is from Flag. It is CS459. And a little bit of grease. A lot of bit of grease, you know, it's fine. It's all the same. And we'll run it in. Actually looks pretty good. All right, guys, there it is, all installed. And instead of just bringing you back, I threw on a little time lapse to see how I was doing that side, but the camera overheated, so you guys went in the freezer, which is what I do anytime this GoPro overheats. But I'll bring you in and show you. So you saw this side, all done and perfect. And this side is all set up. So nice to see suspension on this. What I did do was swap these out for our nylon lock nuts. I like that a little better because I don't like torquing these too much, because what you'll end up doing is bending these plates in. So I just use a nylon lock nut and that should be just fine. I went ahead and torqued these to spec, which is, you know, as good and tight. But they're jam nuts, so I'm not too worried about it. And then I went ahead and swapped out the grease arc for straight ones. The other ones weren't working, and that's fine. Now, we are all set up. This looks so good, guys. Man, it's just exciting to see suspension already going back on. Now, all this stuff over here, the axle, and all of this needs time to dry. So I will bring you guys back tomorrow. I gotta head out to work anyways, and we'll start getting the rest of this together. And just like that, it's the next day. And I'm excited today, guys, because we're gonna start putting together the front suspension, or the front axle, I should say, and getting it on the front suspension. And also, we don't have to deal with any greasy or rusted parts. We just now have to deal with the anxiety of dealing with painted parts. So, everything's nice and dry, ready to start putting stuff together. Now, what we need to do first is come over here to these sway bar mounts and make the spaces we talked about. Now, I couldn't find any 1/2 inch plate locally that I could just run and grab real quick. So, we're gonna take, this is 3/16, but if we weld one on top of the other and not drop it on the floor, it does equal out to about the spacing we need here. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut those up, weld them together, and we'll get the holes put for these. We'll get a little bit of paint on that, and then we will come over here and start assembling everything. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, guys, the spacer is done. It came out pretty good. Like, I just tack welded it so it didn't have to be perfect. But as you can see, I have a lot more going on now. And I went ahead and did all 4 of them. So I thought I'd be done. And here's the problem. You know, I didn't check first. So it fits sort of. So it looked like it was going to be good, but once you add it, there's a huge gap. And that's more than you would want. You're going to put a lot of stress on this metal strap here. And the reason I went with this 3/16, even though I knew this was a kind of like a 1/2 inch hump here, is because I had gotten this 1/4 inch plate, and obviously it's, let's see if you can see it, too tall there. So it sits above, if you can see. So that wasn't going to work out because here, I stack them both here. You can see that there's actually a gap. So we wouldn't be getting enough squeeze on the bushing here to hold the sway bar. So after a little bit of trial and error, I realized if I stack a 1/4 inch and a 3/16, I'm getting the exact height that I need. Except I already went through and made all of these spacers. So this was a good practice run. I'm going to go so I'm going to have to go ahead and remake all of these, which really does suck. That took me, I think it's like a minute of footage for you guys, but it took me like an hour and a half. So we'll get that taken care of. What I'm going to do is go ahead and do that later. Let's just go ahead and start on Kingpins, and that way we can start getting the axle in. Let's get it done, guys. Now, moving on to other things. Okay, so here are the spindles all done. Man, do they look good. Already unwrapped this one because I had to see what it looks like. I don't know about you guys, but my favorite thing about painting, oddly enough, is taking off the tape. You just get to see all the machine surfaces versus the paint. I don't know. I just think it looks great. Okay, guys, what we need to do is get the bushings back in. So here are the old bushings. What I have is a Kingpin set from Moog, part number M08377B. Good old made in the USA. So as far as a replacement, I'm hoping these are going to be pretty good. Everything looks the way it should. And I already went ahead and checked these out, but let's see. Actually, let's put it here. And dead on. Check that out. Old, new. And that's within caliper error. So all we have to do is push these back in. And I say that like it's going to be easy. Hopefully it will be. But with them being so close, I'm not worried about any kind of binding or anything like that. Now these are supposed to be pre-reamed. As you can see, they fit just fine in the Kingpin now. Now the only thing is not to distort them as they go in, otherwise you'll have to ream them at that point. Okay, I was getting a bit ahead of myself, guys, but I really wanted to see how the bushings turned out. They pushed in really easy, as you guys saw, but there was a little bit of tightness at the top one, but I just tapped it a little bit with the rubber mallet, went right in, no issues at all. So I'm so excited. I was really worried if I'd have to go get these reamed out. So they fit, just kind of have to tap them out, and then to tap them out, I'll use the rubber mallet and a little brass drift here. But there you go, in brand new bushings. I'm so excited, guys. I can't even tell you. Okay, let me get this area cleaned up a little bit. We'll bring the axle over and we'll start putting the spindles on. Let's do this. All right, I got the axle here. I used these eyelet bolts. They worked great. I was trying to find every way to hang this axle, but man, this is the only way I could figure out how to hang this and paint it. All right, let's get all of the tape off. And see what I mean by already like stressing over paint. I got a chip there, a chip there, just banging stuff around. It happens. I'll have to come through and touch it up, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Now, this here is the back of the truck, this little dimple or indentation for the caster shims, whatever you want to call it. That lets you know that's the back of the axle, and this is the front of the axle. So that would make this the passenger side. And I labeled each spindle. Well, I didn't label. I put 3 indentations on the passenger side to let me know. That's the way I can keep it together. Because when I found it, it had no shims, so that means it was pretty well balanced already. And then what we're going to do is come through and put the spindle back together. Now the bearing here goes like this. Let me see if I can. Goes at the bottom. And then this where it says top, right here, means it faces upward. You're just supposed to be, yeah, barely fit it on. Now, before I do that, I want to get a little bit of grease in here. I mean, it is a bearing and doesn't leave you much room to do it. I don't know, just make me feel better. And I don't know if that's actually going to do anything. Like I said, you don't get to see it very much. It's probably sealed. But if I can push a little bit in there and maybe into the inner race, you can actually see the balls right here. I don't know, does that show you? Let's see. And push a little bit into there. To keep these spinning freely and not locking up right away. Now, you want to test to fit these. And again, I've never done this before, but it's based off everything I've read. I'm going to put a little grease on the machine surfaces here. Just to see if you'll end up needing shims. I don't think we will, but just in case, I don't think so. That's the Kingpin in, which, man, is super exciting. Okay, we're all the way in. As you saw, I had to tap. The bushing came out a little bit. I just tapped the bushing back in, and now I can see in here, it's too hard to bring you guys in, but the flat spot, which is right here on the Kingpin, is right where it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and run this part in, this pin in. That's tight, but good. It moves really smooth and free. And then last but not least, we have these little caps. And you see this is going to need some touch-up paint, and then what I'll come through is also paint the caps when I get it in. And check it out. Oh man, all done, both sides. Nice and tight, everything's perfect. I don't want to move it too much because it's not greased. There is some oil in there, or some of that silicone lube. But I did get the grease zerks in on this side just because I want to see if I could clock them right. But man, the axle's in, the kingpins are done. Oh, I'm excited. I'm not going to grease anything yet because all of that still needs to be greased that we did before. But let's go ahead and get this axle on those leaf springs. I am excited, guys. Let's do this. I didn't really talk about these before, but these are caster shims. So if you guys are taking this apart, make sure you keep these. And these are from the factory, and basically what they are shims that go right underneath the leaf springs that set your caster. So you are going to need these if you want to drive it down the road. Okay, in between here, that's all I need. I just realized that this is going to be too tall, so I'm gonna have to cut this bolt off. And it's lopped off. I went ahead and pressed this rubber in. I just used a vise, and I'll show you when I do the other side. And it locates the axle just like that. Man, that looks so good. I'll show you how I got that in there, guys. I love this stuff for this kind of work. Yeah. And then, oh no. I use these sockets to kind of press on the edge here. Let me get it in a little further. I didn't even have to press it in. The other one would not go in. Okay. Well, then never mind. That's how I did that. I did that. All right, perfect. All right, I have the other side loosely mocked up, and I'll just show you guys this side. So you get your caster shim in. Yeah, I figured this was going to be a problem. Bring the suspension together. There it is. So it's got that little locating ball that goes in the back here. Perfect. There it is. And then you actually need these U-bolt washers. They actually go as spacers. So they go first. Sorry. And then our sway bar bracket. And then our nuts. And there it is, all hooked up. I still need to tighten down the U-bolts. We're gonna have to torque on them, but man, I just want to take a moment and check this out. I've been thinking about putting this suspension in for weeks. I love the way it came out. It just looks good. It's awesome when you think about a project and you start seeing it come together. For me, it's the best feeling, guys. All right, what we have to do though is torque down these U-bolts. Now it's gonna be a little different than just kind of running them tight. You have to actually do them in sequence and actually make sure that they're tightened equally. Now the reason we have to do that so specifically for U-bolts is because up here, if you tighten it too much on one side or the other, or kind of, you know, do any of this, you end up messing with the caster, and it's actually all part of the alignment for the axle. So the torque specs for this is 65 to 90 for these U-bolts. I'm gonna probably lean towards 90. I like things nice and tight. So what I'm gonna do is go through and snug everything down, do 30, 60, and then probably 90, and a cross pattern on each side. So I'll do each side. Cross pattern there, cross pattern here, 30, 60, 90, and then we should be good to go. All right, guys, let's get that done. Man, that looks great. Oh, I'm so happy with how this is turning out. So everything is torqued. I got these down to 90 foot-pounds on each side. You saw me messing with these shims a little bit, and that's because the caster shims, the indexing ball wasn't where it needed to be on both axles, and I noticed it as I was going down. So I'm glad we got all that worked out. Again, I painted the U-bolts, and I went ahead and painted up the caps for the Kingpins. Everything's bare steel. I just didn't want it rusting out again. And that's part of the stuff of what I really like with this Eastwood paint is that they offer a rattle can version. So you can do touch-ups and stuff like that. They also offer it for the 2K. I'm not associated, even though I seem like I'm pushing it a lot. I just really like this stuff. And I got the grease zerks in, so we'll go ahead and grease everything up right now. But what we need to do now, guys, is get this sway bar in. And that's all I'm going to be doing for this video. I know my videos have been pretty long. I got a jam-packed full of stuff, but I'm trying to push this out weekly and really get this truck done. I have big plans for what I'm going to do when this truck is done. So we need to get it go. So we need to get it done. All right, I'm getting tongue-tied, so that means I need to hurry up and finish this out. I'm getting tired. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and install the brackets for the sway bar. I'm actually really excited to get these brackets in, considering they're original. When I got them, they were all busted up, so that means they've been sitting around for a while. I'm excited to have them back on a vehicle. So I'm just gonna use grade 8 bolts, and I had to go through and clean up the threads on every single one. Man, they were like the most junked up threads I've ever seen. Let's go ahead and just see if I can get the thread started. Okay, I got the sway bar over here propped up. Now we'll get the sway bar links in. Now, for some reason they sent me 3, and this is what the link looked like when I first got it. It says it's supposed to have cups, but these are just flat washers. So I went and actually swapped them out for real sway bar link cups. I've never really been very impressed with this particular kit, but it's what I ended up with, so it's what we're going with. Okay, here we are on this side, guys. Just going to hold the sway bar up. You know what I never thought to check for was... Uh-oh. Well, that's not gonna work, guys. Let me show you what's going on. All right, what we have going on is... So I got the sway bar mounted up, and as you can see there, I got the spacers in here, everything's done. But we're about 3/4 of an inch off. I don't really understand what's going on, to be honest. It's not like I'm doing anything new here. Yeah, those are original brackets, but a lot of people have adapted these sway bars from the Chevys onto the GMCs without a problem. So yeah, it's about 1/4 of an inch. I left the link in here, but yeah, I'm not really sure. I do have a little bit of adjustment left. Well, I have none actually left in the bracket itself, but I could slot it more a little over here and try to bring that bolt closer, which should give me, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. So I can gain 1/4 of an inch there. Just not really sure, guys. And I know you're first thinking, well, maybe that's just meant for the original. So I got the original out. The original is 15.5 inches. I already measured it out. And this here is 13 inches. But I already knew that going in because I had done that. Because technically, the original sway bar mounts about midway on the axle. And from midway to about halfway, like mid of the bolt right there, that's 2.5 inches. All the measurements look good. So I'm not really sure what's going on. If I had to guess, I'm guessing it's the leaf spring suspension being brand new. This is not settled yet. It's a lot higher than it's going to be. It doesn't have an engine in. There's no compression. I'm kind of thinking that's a situation that the suspension needs to compress a little to bring all of that into alignment. At least that's what I'm hoping for. So we're going to just hold off on that for now. But to get a win right before we close out this video, let's go ahead and install the shocks. I have those, and we'll go ahead and close this out. What I have here is the Bilsteins, the RCD Classics. 55R110s. These are meant for this truck or built for it. And I'm hoping it's going to be a nice upgrade to shocks that are on here before. Man, it looks so much more complete with those shocks. The instructions said 34 foot-pounds. That's why I had like a torque wrench out first. But no, that would have just pancaked the rubber so bad. So I just tightened it out till I got a little bulge, and we should be good there. I have lock nuts on the bottom, so we're solid. I'm bummed about the sway bar, guys. If anyone knows what that's about, or what I might have missed there, go ahead and drop a comment and help me out here. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to try to figure it out, or maybe slot the brackets, wait for the suspension to settle, and we have the engine in. I'm not really sure. We didn't get to getting the drag link and the tie rod in. I just ran out of time, guys. That's just not in the cards for this week. But we will get that next week. And next week we are putting in the disc brake conversion kit. So we'll have the disc brakes, the caliper, the dual master cylinder. We'll get all the lines ran and we'll finish up this chassis. Also, we'll be able to put the tires back on and get this on all 4 tires again. I'm excited. This is moving fast. And again, as always, guys, thank you for your support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.